In the preceding chapters of the Alchemist's Ledger, we have engaged in the great work. We learned to transmute knowledge into wisdom. We purified our minds of the toxic beliefs that dissolve fortunes. We forged our first invincible asset from the chaos of the market, and we mastered the law of multiplication to accelerate its growth. This brings us to the final and most vital question: why? Why engage in this difficult work? Why study the old laws? Why build the fortress? If the only goal is to end up with a larger number on a balance sheet, then the entire endeavor is a hollow and meaningless game. Welcome to the final chapter of this series, the Principle of Distillation. In ancient alchemy, after the crude materials were purified and coagulated, the final process was to gently heat the substance, allowing its purest, most volatile essence to rise as a vapor, leaving all the heavy, worthless dross behind. This vapor was the elixir, the very soul of the material. Today we learn to perform this final sacred act upon our own wealth. We will learn how to gently heat our assets and extract their soul, their true purpose. And that purpose is not more money. It is pure, absolute freedom.
The final distillation. The alchemist's great work does not end with the creation of gold. To believe so is the final and most tragic mistake a creator can make. It is the error that leads to the great paradox of the modern world, the existence of the wealthy slave. This is the man who is succeeded by every metric of society. His balance sheet is a fortress. His income is a mighty river, yet he is not free. He is a prisoner to the very empire he built. His days are a relentless series of meetings to manage his assets. His mind is a constant churn of anxiety over market fluctuations and geopolitical risks. He has built a beautiful gilded cage, and he has locked himself inside it. He has a fortune, but the fortune has him. The master alchemist avoids this fate because they understand that the gold is not the prize. It is merely the raw material for the final and most sacred act of creation. This is the principle of distillation. The alchemist takes the totality of their assets, the stocks, the properties, the businesses, all the heavy, solid gold they have accumulated, and places it within the flask of a perfectly designed system. This system is the architecture of trusts, the hiring of brilliant managers, the creation of a family office. Then, they apply a gentle, intelligent heat. This heat is not a fire of liquidation. It is the slow, deliberate process of automation and delegation. It is the act of structuring the empire to run on its own principles, to function and grow without the constant, frantic intervention of its creator. As the assets are heated by this intelligent structure, their purest essence begins to rise, leaving all the heavy, worthless dross behind. What is this dross, this thick, useless residue? It is the weight of the wealth itself. It is the ego that is tied to a daily stock price. It is the anxiety of management. It is the obligation to attend the endless meeting. It is the need to work. The dross is every part of the fortune that demands a piece of your life force in exchange for its existence. And what is the pure essence that rises as a vapor, leaving all that weight behind? It is not money. It is the effortless, predictable, and utterly passive stream of cash flow that emanates from the assets. It is the dividend that arrives without a phone call. It is the rent that is collected by a manager. It is the profit that is generated by a CEO you trust implicitly. It is the wealth working and perfect silent automation. This vapor is then collected and condensed, and the final product, the clear, weightless liquid that drips from the spout, is the elixir itself, pure, absolute freedom. This is the profound final secret. The ultimate purpose of accumulating capital is to build a machine so perfect, so self-sustaining, that you can eventually forget it exists. The wealth becomes the silent, invisible engine that powers your life, not the complex cockpit you must constantly pilot. This freedom is not the hedonism of the new rich. It is not the freedom to buy more things. It is the freedom of the philosopher, of the artist, of the true sovereign individual. It is the freedom to wake up on a Tuesday morning and have your day be a complete blank slate, its contents determined not by necessity, but by curiosity. It is the power to pursue a question without a thought to its profitability. It is the luxury of true, unhurried presence with the people you love. It is the ability to use your time, your finite, unrecoverable life force, in perfect alignment with your deepest values. The ultimate measure of wealth is not how much money you have, it is how much of your life you own. The final distillation is the alchemical process by which you cease to be a manager of capital and finally become the master of your own time.
The well of passive income. The final distillation, the extraction of freedom from wealth, is made possible by a single miraculous mechanism. It is the engine that powers the life of the truly free. It is called passive income. But to understand its profound power, we must first understand the life of the man it liberates, the water carrier. Imagine a village that needs water. Every single day, a man, the water carrier, wakes at dawn. He picks up 2 heavy buckets, walks the long dusty mile to the river, fills the buckets, and carries them back to the village to sell. His shoulders ache. His hands are calloused. His life is defined by this relentless, repetitive labor. His income is directly and forever tied to his own effort. 1 trip to the river equals 2 buckets of water. 1 day of work equals 1 day of pay. If he wants to earn more, he must make more trips. He can try to run faster or carry slightly larger buckets, but he is fundamentally limited by the laws of his own biology. He is limited by his time and his energy. If he falls ill, his income stops. If he wishes to rest, his income stops. He has a job, and a good one, but he is a slave to the clock and to his own body. He is trapped on the treadmill of active income. Now the alchemist arrives in the same village. He sees the water carrier's endless toil, and he asks a different question. He does not ask, "How can I carry more buckets?" He asks, "Why am I carrying buckets at all?" The alchemist forgoes the immediate income of carrying water. Instead, he spends his days with a shovel and a blueprint. He sacrifices his present for his future. The villagers see him digging day after day, and they think him a fool. He is working, but he's earning nothing. But the alchemist is not just digging a hole, he is engineering a system. He's building a well, a pipeline that will connect the village directly to the river. The work is hard, it is lonely, and for a long time, it produces no reward. And then, one day, the work is finished. The alchemist turns a single spigot, and from the well, water begins to flow. It flows in the morning when he wakes. It flows in the afternoon while he reads a book in the shade. It flows at night while he sleeps. It flows whether he is healthy or ill, whether he is present or traveling the world. The water carrier is still making his trips, his life an endless loop of labor. The alchemist has built a system that has made his own labor obsolete. The well is his invincible asset. The effortless, endless stream of water is his passive income. This is the profound realization. The goal is not to get better at carrying buckets. The goal is to own the well. In the modern world, these wells are all around us, often hidden in plain sight. A portfolio of high-quality dividend-paying stocks is a well. You own a tiny piece of a global empire, and as a reward for your ownership, a share of the profits flows to you, whether you are at work or on vacation. A portfolio of rental properties is a well. You provide a roof over someone's head, and in exchange, a monthly tribute of rent flows to you, managed by a property agent, requiring almost none of your time. The royalties from a book you have written, a song you have composed, or a patent you have created is a well. The work was done once, in the past, and it continues to pay you for years, even decades into the future. This is the great work of the alchemist's life. It is the process of taking the capital earned through active labor, through carrying the buckets, and using it to build these wells one by one. The goal is to build so many and to make them so deep that the combined flow from all your wells is more than enough to fund your entire existence. The moment that happens, you are free. You have officially untethered your life from the clock. Your income is no longer a function of your time. It is a function of your ownership. You have graduated from being the labor to being the master. You have built your well.
The golden cage. We have learned to build the well. We have created the systems that generate passive income, the magical stream of wealth that flows while we sleep. By all measures, freedom should be at hand. And yet, it is at this very moment, on the precipice of true liberation, that the alchemist encounters the most subtle and tragic of all traps. It is a prison built not of iron, but of affluence. It is a cage whose bars are forged from pure gold. This is the golden cage, and its prisoner is the man who has successfully accumulated wealth but has failed to cultivate the mindset to enjoy it. He has built the well, but he cannot bring himself to put down the buckets. You see this figure everywhere in the highest echelons of society. He is the billionaire CEO who, despite having more money than his next 10 generations could ever spend, still grinds through 80-hour work weeks, sacrificing his health and his family. He is the master investor who has won the game but cannot stop playing, his self-worth so entwined with his latest market victory that he cannot bear to step away from the screen. He is the inheritor of a great fortune who, instead of using his freedom to pursue a passion, lives in a state of anxious paralysis, terrified of diminishing the very pile of gold that imprisons him. The bars of this cage are invisible, but they are stronger than steel. They are forged from a toxic alloy of 3 elements. The first is a deeply ingrained identity. The man has spent his entire life being the builder, the deal maker, the one in charge. His entire sense of self, of his own importance, is derived from his work and his accumulation. To stop working, to simply be, feels like a form of death. He does not know who he is without the struggle. The open door of freedom looks to him like a terrifying, empty void. The second bar of the cage is habit. The relentless drive, the constant vigilance, the healthy paranoia that were so essential for building the fortune have become a permanent, reflexive part of his character. He has spent decades building the well, and now he cannot stop digging. The very habits that created his success now prevent him from enjoying its fruits. He is a soldier who has won the war but cannot stop fighting the phantom battles in his own mind. The final and strongest bar is fear. It is the fear that if he stops, if he delegates, if he trusts the systems he has built, it will all somehow collapse. It is the fear that the fire will go out the moment he stops feeding it. This fear, which was once a healthy motivator, has metastasized into a prison guard, whispering that his presence is always required, that his vigilance is the only thing holding back the chaos. And so he remains in his beautiful prison. He has all the money in the world, but none of the time. He has the freedom to do anything, but he lacks the freedom to do nothing. He has won the game, but he has forgotten why he started playing. The true alchemist, the master of the final distillation, understands this danger. They know that building the well is only the first half of the work. The second and far more difficult half is cultivating the inner wisdom to actually drink from it. It is the practice of slowly, deliberately, and courageously letting go. It is the transfer of trust from oneself to the systems one has created. It is the rediscovery of an identity that is separate from one's balance sheet. It is the courage to see the open door of the golden cage and to finally, peacefully step through it.
Buying back your time. We have built the well. The passive income flows, liberating us from the need to labor. This presents us with a new, profound choice. A choice that reveals the final layer of the alchemist's wisdom. What do you do with the fruits of your well?
The amateur, having escaped the prison of mandatory work, immediately begins constructing a new one, a prison of complex consumption. They buy the sprawling mansion that requires a team to manage, the yacht that demands constant upkeep, the collection of cars that need maintenance. Their free time is consumed by the management of their possessions. The alchemist understands a truth so fundamental it is almost always overlooked. You are born with a finite, non-renewable, and ever-dwindling inheritance. It is the only asset that is distributed with perfect equality to both the pauper and the king. That inheritance is your time. Every day you are given 24 hours, every week 168. This is your mortal allowance. For most of your life, you are engaged in a simple transaction. You trade large portions of this precious, finite allowance for a fungible, infinite resource called money. This is the definition of a job. The ultimate purpose of wealth, the entire point of the great work, is to reverse this equation. The goal is to reach a point where you can begin to trade your money to buy back your time. This is the greatest luxury in the universe. It is not a watch, a car, or a house. It is the reclamation of your own life. How is this done? It is a ruthless and systematic war against any task that consumes your time but does not align with your genius or your joy. The alchemist views their day as a sacred vessel, and they are merciless in plugging any leaks. They hire a cleaner, not because they are lazy, but because the 4 hours spent scrubbing floors is 4 hours they can now spend reading, thinking, or being with their family. They hire a virtual assistant to manage their schedule, not out of self-importance, but because the 5 hours spent on administrative tasks is 5 hours they can now dedicate to strategic planning. They pay for the grocery delivery, the lawn service, the tax preparation, the travel booking. The amateur sees these as extravagant expenses. The alchemist knows they are the highest returning investments they will ever make. They are not buying a service. They are buying back their life, hour by precious hour. This creates an unstoppable upward spiral. By delegating all lower value tasks, they liberate their time and mental energy to focus only on the highest value activities, nurturing their relationships, exploring new ideas, and overseeing their empire at the 10,000-foot level. These high-value activities inevitably generate more wealth, which in turn allows them to buy back even more of their time. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the power to strip your life down to its absolute essence, to the very few things that only you can do and that you most love to do. The number of hours in a day is the only true level playing field in the world. The final secret of the alchemists is that they have learned to use their gold to cheat the game.
The summit of enough. We have reached the end of our journey through the Alchemist's Ledger. We have transmuted knowledge into wisdom. We have purified our minds of the toxic beliefs that lead to ruin. We have forged the invincible asset, mastered the great lever, and learned to distill our wealth into the pure elixir of freedom. And now, we stand at the final gate. To pass through it is to understand the last and most sacred law of the great work. It is the wisdom that transforms the entire endeavor from a frantic race into a peaceful journey. It is the concept of enough. Imagine a man who decides to climb the highest mountain in the world. He is driven by a relentless ambition. He spends years training, acquiring the finest gear, and studying the treacherous paths. His entire identity becomes consumed by this single goal, to reach the top. The climb is a brutal, all-consuming struggle. He is focused only on the next step, the next handhold, the next agonizing inch of upward progress. The magnificent landscape that surrounds him is just an obstacle. The journey is not a source of joy, it is a trial to be endured. Then, one day, he does it. He stands at the very summit of the world. For a fleeting moment, there is a surge of triumphant euphoria. He has won. He has conquered. But then a terrifying question echoes in the thin, cold air. What now? He looks around and sees that there is no higher peak to climb. the game is over. The striving that defined his entire existence has vanished, and in its place, there is only a profound and terrifying emptiness. He is the king of a barren, frozen peak with nowhere left to go. This is the fate of the person who pursues wealth as an endless accumulation, a game of more. They spend their entire lives on the brutal upward climb, believing that happiness lies at the next milestone, the first million, the first 10, the first 100, but they are climbing a mountain with no summit. The disease of more has no cure, because the finish line is a mirage that recedes as you approach it. The alchemist, however, is on a different journey. They are also a climber, but they are not trying to conquer the highest mountain in the world. They are climbing their own mountain. And before they take their first step, they perform the most important act of the entire expedition. They define their summit. They sit down in a quiet room and ask the great, terrifying questions. What is the purpose of this wealth? What kind of life do I truly want to live? How much is enough to fund that life perfectly and forever? They calculate the number with the precision of an engineer. This number is not an arbitrary goal. It is a declaration of freedom. It is the peak of their personal mountain. It is their summit of enough. Now, their climb is transformed. The journey is no longer a frantic, anxious race. It is a calm, deliberate, and joyful ascent toward a known destination. And when they finally reach that summit, their reaction is not of frantic emptiness. It is of profound, soul-deep peace. They have arrived. They can finally stop climbing and, for the first time, turn around and truly see the magnificent view. This is the ultimate distillation. It is the liberation from the very desire that started the journey. It is the final alchemical transformation of ambition into contentment. The great secret is that the work was never about the gold. The gold was merely the tool required to reach the summit. The real prize was always the view. The real prize was the freedom to stop climbing.
The great secret is that the work was never about the gold. The gold was merely the tool required to reach the summit. The real prize was always the view. The real prize was the freedom to stop climbing. And with that, the great work is complete. Together, we have journeyed through the Alchemist's Ledger. We learned to transmute raw information into the gold of wisdom. We purified our minds of the 7 toxic beliefs that lead to ruin. We forged an invincible asset from the chaos, and we mastered the great lever to multiply its power. And today, we have learned to distill it all into the final elixir of pure freedom. The ledger is now closed. The final secret is this: the goal is not to climb forever. The goal is to choose your mountain, reach its summit, and finally have the wisdom to enjoy the view. Thank you for joining us on this journey inside CapitalSanctum. The lessons of this ledger are now yours to command. If you are ready to continue your exploration into the unwritten rules of wealth, power, and a life well lived, subscribe to CapitalSanctum and become a permanent member of the inner circle. The library is vast, and there is much more to reveal.